have a conversation together amongst friends. We're all allowed to disagree, express your opinion as long as it's done so respectfully. I really like it when people express their opinions. And in my last live talking about the all white town and racism, there was a lot of back and forth in a good way, a lot of respectful opinions differing from mine. And I really, really enjoy that. And I feel like that is the only way we can intellectually grow is to entertain other people's opinions and learn new information and facts. So I really appreciate you guys. And I titled this How Hippies Ruined Society as We Know It because I wanted to put the sexual revolution. I know that hippies, from what I've gathered, overall, they were kind of lazy people. Like a lot of people try to make it seem like they were huge activists all the time. And they were somewhat sometimes, especially during the Vietnam War, but not necessarily like we think back about them. They promoted a lifestyle of do as thou wilt, kind of. And in my opinion, it is how we got here. When people are complaining about the rift between men and women, the behavior of women. A lot of men say the modern woman. It's important to try to realize like the roots of the problem. What happened to women to get them to behave the way that they do now? What happened to men to get them to behave the way that they do now? People can clearly see things used to be different in certain aspects. And in my opinion, the difference has gotten better in terms of people having more rights, people having more autonomy, women being able to make whatever choice they want. That's what feminism is all about. Making the choices you want for you and your life and not having to explain that to anybody. So, anyways, this has gotten brought up a lot. And I think adult media is the downfall of all of this. It brought with it the ability to have adult media in your pocket, look at it whenever you want to. Hey, Shaw to the T, how are you doing today? I just felt compelled to talk about this subject for some reason. And since, I have a few hours till work, I wanted to hop on here and talk about this. And it has gotten brought up by a few subscribers of mine. I know there's at least a few people out there that feel the same. I understand it's a super touchy subject. Hi, Samuel. How are you doing? But I really feel like before most of us were even born, I know some of you were probably born before the 60s, but most of us weren't. And we're trying to search for answers and like what is going on now. And it's like it really took place before us, long before a lot of us were even born. People were deciding to be selfish and focus on themselves. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. Self-preservation is absolutely a good thing, but it's all about balance, right? And now we've gotten to this point where there's just so much discord between men and women, and it's all focused on social media. I do the same thing, social media, adult media. I get it. Those things are factors playing into this. But what really started the snowball effect of do as thou wilt, do whatever makes you feel good. As long as you protect yourself, you'll be safe, even though there's no such thing as 100% safe sex. There's not. And I suffered from high risk HPV. For anybody that doesn't know, I just had to have a hysterectomy after dealing with 10 years of precancerous lesions. And it was because I was promiscuous. I was encouraged to be promiscuous when I was 18 years old by my father at that. My own father would say things to me like, everybody just F's around in college. Like, you might as well get something out of it. There's plenty of rich men around here. Like, why sleep with the guys your age who aren't going to give you anything for it? These are things my PhD father told me for a few years, 16, 17, leading up into turning 18 years old. And we can all see how wrong that is. Like, we can see, and I'm sure some people would still say, well, you were still an adult. You were 18 when you did the things you did. But now that I'm a parent of an 18-year-old, I really see how sick that is. And we're being groomed by all of society. So many women, they're being groomed by society. And yes, once you're an adult and you make certain choices, your responsibility, your actions are your own responsibilities. But we have to understand why things are heading on this trajectory. Hi, Delmy. And hi, the one and only Nicole. Oh, okay. No. Hey, John, how are you? Yeah, my dad, he said things like this, and I bring this up not to get pity. I bring this up because I know I'm not alone in this. And it took me a long time to feel comfortable enough to talk about it on a public platform. But he would say, fathers and daughters slept together. It was like, it was normal in like ancient Greece, he's the kind of person who could answer every single question on Jeopardy. Super book smart person. And a lot of so anyways, hi rumorous. The hippies, I titled it hippies because it's really the sexual revolution. It became so egregious once the late 90s, the internet kicked in. Somebody always corrects me. Most of us didn't have the internet in our homes until the late 90s. I know the internet was a thing in the early and mid 90s. Like I just said, my dad was a college professor. College professors had them before emails, before a lot of people. Okay, but most of us didn't have internet until the late 90s. And what has happened to marriage rates since then? They have gone down and not gotten back up. In like 150 years of tracking them, they always fluctuate. They go down and up and down and up, but they're not going back up. And I think there's huge and if men weren't saying there's a male loneliness epidemic and crying out for help in so many ways. I know not all men, but a lot, enough that it's like clearly they're not faring well. They don't like what is happening. They don't like what is going on. And I think it's really interesting that a lot of the same men that complain about women being promiscuous, women dressing revealing, those same men probably engage in adult media every day of their lives. And I'm not saying it's all their fault. It's this big cycle we're all a part of. All of our energy is connected. It's not any one person's fault. It's not any one gender's fault, especially when you understand like these things that a few decades ago when you're talking, I wish women were like they were in the 1950s. Well, you have really sit back and think about the difference in a woman that was raised in like the 30s, 40s, 50s compared to now. Can you fault any woman for going along to get along? And I know that that sounds like I'm making excuses. I'm trying to explain and trying to help people understand. All women go through this thing when they turn like 18, when they come of age. Um, they they want to show, I don't know how to say it, like Britney Spears, people who were famous did it right in front of our faces. It's just natural for a woman to come into her sexuality and want to show that somehow. But that's where we come in as the elders to guide these people and be like, your body is precious. You know, it's not about like inviting people or not. It's about like respecting yourself enough to decide what's going to happen before you walk into the room, to decide what your intentions are with your own body, because it's the most precious, sacred, physical gift you'll ever have on this planet while your soul is in this body. And that's where like the downfall is. I know it from being an 18-year-old girl myself. I was a child. I was still a child. But because I was 18 years old, that meant I know what it's like to be 18 years old and find my stepdad's barely legal adult media too. That was like one of the worst feelings I ever felt in my life. It made me feel so horrible. And I'm like, should I be divulging this online? I'm not the only person who's been through these things. And I'm not saying anything that's not true. And how can we learn from this and heal? I sure as heck know there's never ever going to be any teenage girl that finds a Playboy or any kind of adult media just floating around my home. Like it's just not going to happen. Oh, hey, Dory. Dory said you hit on the topic today as a boomer who was a young woman during the hippies and the free love propaganda. I could rant for an hour. My dating years as a Christian girl were awful. Okay, so Dory, you're 77, right? Um, yes. Thanks, Sasha. I am gonna dye it soon, but yeah, I let my roots go a long time. I dye my hair like once a year because I want it to be long, so I'm not gonna like damage it. Hey, Mr. Carey, I'm glad that you can make it for a few minutes. I'm talking about how the sexual revolution was the downfall, like the start of what is going on today. And I think about Playboy a lot because I mean it's Playboy. We've all had Playboy shoved down our throats our entire lives, right? Like, but it was even before that. I mean, Hugh Hefner did what he did because it was already a thing to profit off of beautiful women. It's of course women's bodies are works of art, but it's once again it's this fine balance before you start objectifying them and you're not looking at it as a work of art, human body miracle from God. You're looking at it as an object to be had, something to conquer. And when you really like I bring up misogyny a lot because a lot like it's the underlying misogyny. It affects us all. I'm not just saying boo-hoo, poor women victims. It is affecting men. The misogyny running rampant right now is part of why there are so many lonely men, so many men that are very vocal about how unhappy they are. Um, Okay. If you're gonna say stuff like, "No, not really," I really don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry, I don't read the comments constantly, so I don't know what you're saying. You're gonna have to say more than that if you want, to engage in some kind of back and forth. So a lot of people associate hippies with like environmental things, Vietnam. Yeah, that's all true, but they brought with them this belief. I say do as thou will, and I know that's satanic or devil worshiping or something. And that's what I do associate with that. And I understand some people worship the devil and they say it's just like freedom of choice and they're just doing it to be contrarians. I get that, like whatever you want to do with your life, if that's how you want to represent yourself, that's fine. But it really is the opposite of what we're put here for, because being of service to others is how we grow, how we are a part of society, how we engage with our communities the best is being in service of others. So this do as thou wilt, that is why there's so many horrible people running rampant, lost souls, materialism on the rise. We know the planet is dying. We know all these animals, we can't fish out of our own streams, they're so polluted, but like we're just going to keep on perpetuating the same system because a lot of it is narcissism. Well, Cody, I had Playboy jammed down my throat between going to kids' houses that had their dads with stacks of them in the bathroom, to the TV show, the reality show of the Playboy bunnies that was on TV. They still make documentaries about that TV show and about Playboy. I don't know where you live, but good for you if that's true. I think we were all introduced to Playboy magazines a little too early. And the author stoic, well, you can believe that, but I don't think we're on a good trajectory. I think the planet will renew itself before it officially dies. Like this cycle has happened before. The planet's gonna, do what it needs to not completely die. The internet is to blame for most of our problems today, Shot to the T said. And I agree. That is like, it is horrible, Cody. Yeah. And also, when I was like 18, 19 years old, I remember visiting friends' houses. And like one time, me and my sister went to this guy's apartment, just friends, people we hung out with since high school. And he had like hardcore magazines on his table. And he's like, oh, like acted a little bit embarrassed, but then he just like left them to like, I guess, prove a point. And it's like, no, all of this is so, yes, stuff like that is why we're here where we are today. It is. It is. Going to a guy's apartment and seeing his bathroom walls plastered and that kind of stuff. That's why there's a male loneliness epidemic. Women realized that, you're either going to get objectified and you have to play that game. No matter what we do, we get shit on for it. No matter what, you find a man you love and you marry him and make it work on a lower income, you get shit on that. I can speak from experience. You find a man you marry for hypergamy and resources, you get shit on for that. You can't win no matter what you do as a woman. You literally can't win. So you might as well do whatever makes you happy to do as that will is not exactly what I'm talking about. Most of us, even if we aren't biological mothers, we do thrive off of nurturing. I say this to women who aren't mothers all the time. Just because you never birthed a human baby doesn't mean you're not a mother. There's plenty of mothers out there, let's be real, biological mothers that birthed plenty of babies, and they're not good mothers. So when women walk this planet, in general, we improve lives, we improve children's lives, we improve others' lives. It just like comes a little bit more naturally to us. And that's one reason why men are suffering so badly without the companionship of a woman. There's no female loneliness epidemic, even though we're involved in the same statistics as far as the marriage rates and everything, because it went from being objectified, abused, the same grandmas you worship and say, why can't people be like grandma? You need to realize grandma was pulling us aside in the kitchen and saying, try to make your own money, try to always have your own way out. Like the grandma wasn't telling us how great and grand life was all the time. Some of them were. I'm sure some people always had great marriages. And I really do believe that when people say marriage is a construct, like a societal construct, I'm like, maybe so, the actual act of signing a piece of paper, wearing the rings. But in my heart, I believe there have always been men and women that like loved each other deeply and stayed together and raise their families together. And maybe that's ignorant of me, but I picture like, Cro-Magnon, like the ancient cavemen and women hanging out, liking each other enough to like make it work their whole lives. It's like, I think it is instilled in some of us. Not everybody is meant to be monogamous their whole lives, of course. There's billions of people on the planet. I think that is a little silly. So the author Stoic said, so it's guys' fault. It has nothing to do with 1 in 12 women deciding OF is a good job. It's Products of our environment, that's what I was saying. When you put yourself in the woman's shoes and really imagine being born into this world as a woman where your looks, people focus on your looks so much as a woman, it is insane. I like getting older. I like having white hair. I like being less objectified. I like having these wrinkles on my forehead. Guys, I like getting older because I was so heavily objectified. And I didn't even have the hourglass body a lot of these girls walking around with now have, like if you can't tell, I have a very modest chest. So I'm not sitting here like trying to show off. I was always ragged on for having the modest chest too. And so it's the society that has molded people to be things that they weren't meant to be. And this, between the materialism, the consumerism, the constant messages of women being mere objects. And I'm not saying it is right. I am just explaining it to hopefully help other people understand. You don't have to agree with something to understand it. This is why women choose OF. If you were told every time you left the house how beautiful, sexy you were, and if you were told you could make money off of that, you were working, I don't know, maybe you were working at Target first shift and then Denny's second or third shift. I don't know where I came up with that at. But like a lot of people, they go from working really hard jobs and being objectified to like having these messages. Well, I'm already objectified constantly anyways. I might as well make money off of it. And I am not saying that is right. That is what happens to a lot of people when they live in this world and they don't have proper mentors. They don't have good guides. I think these girls, they don't have good women in their lives. A lot of women are jealous of the younger girls, and that's why we're not guiding them the way that we should be. So I'm not trying to blame all men, but I mean, men, we're a big part of this adult media. They are. Like Hugh Hefner kind of started it, but like all the main adult media movies come from like a handful of studios. They're all ran by white men, just like everything, right? But I'm not going to say that because of those white men, I look at all white men as greedy adult media producers, because I know you're not. Put yourself in a man's shoes. He should deal with women being how they are when we can just go find it online. The author stoic. No, I do understand that author stoic, especially all the men that are like on the autism spectrum or different, have issues socializing. I totally understand going to the internet for that. But this is about the breakdown in female and male relationships and the people that want partners for life and are having a difficulty finding that. And I can even like there's been people that bring up the SEX robots in that regard. Like we'll give them the robots and then they'll be happier. Have you heard what some of these men do to some of these robots? So they have brothels where you can have robots. They're like destroying the robots. So I don't even think like it's all about not making your life revolve around your orgasm. I don't know how else to say it. And it is so powerful. And that's why the powers that be have manipulated us all into what we are now. And I am not like trying to give excuses to women for doing OnlyFans. I think it's absolutely horrible. I don't think sex work is work. I think it's the most unsustainable, dangerous, worst work a woman could do. But I don't look down on the women doing it. I just said all of that, and I'm sure most people would call me a swerf, a sex worker, exclusionary feminist, or whatever. I don't look down on the women that choose to do that. I look at them as victims of a system, not just the men paying them. No, the whole system that failed them. That includes their parents. That includes, like, there's this one woman, I forget her name, beautiful Persian woman, absolutely beautiful, drop dead gorgeous face, and she happens to have a big chest, a very, very, very big chest. Some of you that watch pornography probably know who I'm talking about. And she was like in law school and she just constantly objectified for her body ever since she developed. She was like 11, 12 years old, teachers telling her to cover up and everything because we can't handle breasts as a society. That very intelligent yet beautiful woman, she was like, I'm going to quit law school and go like make money doing it because everywhere I go, people are staring at them anyways. Like, I'm like, these are nuances that help you understand. I'm not saying like this world is so complicated with all of the people in it. So Piney Creek said Matthew 6:33, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all those things will be provided for you. Thank you for that, Piney Creek. KW, it must be a hoot to go on a long drive with. Ah, that's so funny. I actually prefer to listen to music on long drives, so I'm a DJ. The author Stoic, men are objectified as the workers of the world. We are expected to do all the jobs that are necessary for a modern society to thrive. Okay, author Stoic, I work in a factory. I'm getting ready to go work a 10 and a half hour shift in a factory tonight. And I can honestly say, with the, like, yes, there are some jobs where men, we need your brute strength. Most jobs aren't like that anymore. With industrialization, like, we can all do the same jobs. I never have to have a man help me do my job. We all do the same, we rotate. I'm on an assembly line. Women have always worked too. Women have always worked bringing babies into the world. Women risk their lives bringing babies into this world. I would venture to say more women do a more dangerous job in bringing babies to the world than men. Like, let's be real. Most men aren't working. Most men, like 18 to 56 years old, there's like a huge chunk of able-bodied men that aren't in the workforce. And I don't agree that like men built all of society, therefore women should bow down to them. We birthed all the babies that built all of society. We're here together to work together. And now I see just as many hardworking women as I do men, even in fields like mine, like being in manufacturing. Um, no, if you can't understand the nuances of like this is something we were all born into. And the same men saying, I think it's all men's fault, are the same men that think literally everything that ever happened that was wrong are women's fault. But at the same time, you built all of society, and we're just the ignorant little peons that emote too much and we can't do anything right. But somehow we came and fucked it all up. Like somehow we were smart enough to undermine the builders of society. And like, I have 3 sons. That's one reason why I am interested in all these topics, like the red pill movement. When it started like 7 years ago, I was more of a men's rights activist. I have videos I could unprivate on here talking about how horrible feminism is. And then I realized it was third wave feminism. I am very thankful for first and second wave feminism. But yeah, third wave feminism, I don't like it when I hear a woman saying all male babies should be aborted. I have 3 sons. Like, there's definitely hateful, horrible women. But the thing with that is the hateful, horrible women that hate all men, they just stay away from men. They just stay away. The men that hate women, they go after us. They use pew-pews to unalive a bunch of people at once because they're so frustrated. And that's what people are, I think, like most concerned about is like the mental health issues. Dory said, I love being older and finally not having people only see me as a pretty girl. I'm noticing now how people think I am smart and kind. Compliments I never heard when I was a pretty young girl. Oh, yes, Dory. I totally feel you on that. Our 37-year-old, beautiful, highly successful, and sweethearted daughter and her female peers cannot find husbands because of the sexual decadence where men can simply have all the free sex they want. Right. That's a part of the problem. And there's a lot of talk about how, especially on dating apps, which I think is a horrid form of dating anyways, women will, like a big chunk of the women go after the same few hot men, and all these men are like mad at the women about it. And I do get that dynamic is off, but it's like, why don't you have a talk with some of your male peers about how maybe they should stop using women? But then again, once again, it's all the women's fault. It's never the man's fault for sleeping around and being promiscuous. It's always the woman's fault. And men are allowed to have as many partners as they want, but a woman can't have more than 1 or 2. Who's the men? Who are they having sex with? Like, the logic has gone out the window a long time ago. And that's why when you Google red pill, like the definition of, Google says red pill used to refer to a movement where people woke up from like the reality and the matrix and stuff. It used to refer to that. It used to have more truth to it. Now it's turned into a bunch of men saying women take no accountability for anything. Meanwhile, they are taking no accountability for anything. Adult media rewires your brain. When you create dopamine rushes to the same stimuli, it literally changes structures in your brain. And I know it happens with women too. I'm not saying no woman is affected by or addicted to adult media. I know it does happen to women. And a lot of people bring up these romance novels, which like is goofy as fuck to me. But honestly, like that, apparently that's a thing. We're all lonelier in a certain sense, even though I think a lot of it does have to do with these constant images projected in front of our faces of examples of families, examples of couples, like the media that we have with social media. Like, think about how it used to be commercials and a few shows you watch and magazines in the checkout line compared to this like constant stream. Ideal objectification of women, idealization of lives, and it's both parties' fault. Stop pointing a finger. Catch Manny. How many times do I have to say? We're all products of our environment, and it all started before we were born, and I'm not saying it's all men's fault. I'm not saying that it's all men's fault. I've been married for 15 years. I love my husband, we have 3 sons. I don't hate men. That's why certain people like, if you can't understand and try to see where people are coming from, you're never ever gonna feel better about your own situation. If you are depressed, if you are unhappy, you've got to look outside of your own box, and this is a problem with our society. They've created a bunch of narcissists, myself included. I'm not any better than anybody. They made us feel like all that ever happens in the world is like here in America. Americans are so spoiled rotten. Like there's so much going on outside of our country. There always has been. And most of us are completely unaware. We're in our own little bubbles, and it like that is part of the problem. Hey, from Germany, I'm not going to try to. Okay, I'm going to call you man. Yeah, I'm just going to say man. How are you? I don't have a problem getting a girlfriend. She lives with me. I pay for everything. I'm loyal and never call her out of name. She's free to do as she pleases, and it's been great. Well, that's nice, Cody. If that works for you, I'm very happy for you because there's a lot of people, that seem to wish to have that set up that don't. Hannah said Jesus loves you all. That's very nice, Hannah. So, yeah, like, that's why I labeled this hippies because I was trying to make it obvious, like, this like, once again, there's people that are older, but a lot of the audience is I feel like were born around the time I was 87, and it's, like, before we even came onto this planet, certain decisions were made, and, it really is important to really get to know somebody, like, their background, you can't be careful enough. And now in this world of convenience and fast pace, I've seen so many people express it happened to me once when I was 18. And this is one of the guys that was my age took me on a nice date. And then when the date ended, he said, "Are you kidding me? I spent so much money on this." Because obviously he thought he was going to get something. Once you like talk to a woman like that, like good luck ever getting in her pants ever. Like this is what women have to deal with. Like, the first date, a man will get mad if you don't sleep with him, but if you've slept with the man on the first date, you're never gonna have his respect. It's like can't win with a lot of men. And so it's bad situations, they mar women, they make women turn into like, it's not a good excuse. I've had bad situations with men. I'm not rude to men in public. I hold the door open for men. I say thank you when men hold the door open for me. I'm a Kentuckian. We're just, like, polite like that. We all like to be nice to each other. I like calling men sir. There's something in me, my Southern hospitality, that gets happy when I say sir. Because, half the time you call a woman ma'am, she takes it the wrong way. And I do understand what it's like to get into your 30s. All of a sudden, hear people call you ma'am and be like, oh, no, I'm a ma'am. But, like, a man will never take it the wrong way if you call him sir. I know there's men that are like starving for respect, and no, it's not all the women's fault. It's this crazy, fucked up world women were born into where they couldn't go to a fair without having carnies say, "Hey, how old are you? Come back when you're 18." And couldn't use a gas station bathroom at the age of 14 without having a man trying to push her back into the bathroom as she was exiting. There's been so many horrible, creepy incidences. Every single woman I know has stories like that. Every single woman. And that's part of why there's these bad attitudes. And like, I don't think it's fair to take that out on the good men that aren't doing things like that to you. And I don't think that it's even most men, but it is men committing over 90% of violent and sexual crimes. And that plays into why somebody might have a bad attitude. The lone wolf. Hey, all men are not the same. There's a few good men out there. Yes, I was just saying that. There's definitely good men. And I feel like the men that aren't good men, we're all born innocent babies and stuff happened to us. There's very few exceptions. There are bad seeds out there that just like were born bad. But most of us, we weren't guided right. We didn't go through life the way that a young child should. And especially like Gen X, somebody from Gen X, this woman in her 40s was talking about like latchkey kids. Like our parents started working two jobs around like the 70s, 80s, a lot more so. There were always people with two incomes, but like the kids started raising themselves right after all this became like right after you could go to the gas station, get a Playboy, a Hustler magazine, then kids are raising themselves. It all turned into like, oh, like our parents didn't know how to guide us right because they weren't guided right. And it's just like, that attitude of like as long as you're safe, like use a condom, just be safe when we need to. No, that's not. It's never safe. It's never 100% safe to share your body with somebody else. That's why you have to be so exceedingly careful with it. And if you really look at women and men as the divine feminine, divine masculine, you really think that all bodies are precious and sacred, made in the image of God, then you would have a harder time indulging in the adult media. Think about how that's somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, somebody's sister. If that was one of your daughter's cousins, like how would you feel about that? And then there's always nuance, right? As somebody mentioned it earlier, like, well, how can you blame a man for like going to that when they have had bad situations, one bad dating experience after the other? I'm sure that has happened to men. But the point is, the unhappiness of men affects more of us because they literally go out and unalive when they're not happy. Not all men. And the suicide rates of men, women try to take their own lives just as much. We're just less successful at it because we use less successful means. And that's all horrible. The fact that anybody in this world is so hopeless and feels so bad about their life and their future that they would do that is an absolute tragedy. And I remember hearing years ago about how a lot of people from the military, it was like this was in the mid 2000s. It was like every day people were doing that. And it is sad to me how there seems to be a lack of caring. But you can't just sit down, like that saying, you can't just sit down and cry with somebody. You've got to help them get up, you know? Like, so I'm acknowledging your pain. I'm acknowledging there's a lot of lonely men, and I'm saying this is a cycle that was started like well before we were born, and a lot of it has to do with objectification of human bodies, and it's not good. Cody said, "Always be a gentleman." I try really hard. I understand why people get perturbed when people don't say thank you and stuff like that because I'm the same way. Like, I think it's a character flaw of mine, honestly. I think I take things too personally, and I'm trying to work on that because you never know what kind of a day somebody has had. You know, I couldn't imagine walking around with a hate in my heart just in general for the opposite gender that like some people have. And I know people think like I'm a man hater because I bring up these subjects. The adult media, like unless you're literally producing it, like it's no, it's not your fault. And they know I think the Freemasons, secret societies, when people are, in my opinion, this is a legend and just supposedly, I think that those people know certain things. Like they took certain secrets from the ancient Egyptians and other cultures and societies about energy. They know what's up. They know how to manipulate us so well. And if you could try to see past all of that. Every time you see something that like gets to you, that's another reminder of this horrible world. And especially if it's like a slutty woman, like, you know, like try to look past that and see it for what it is. Like she is just a product of her environment. If you were born in her body, treated the way she was her whole life, you might have joined OnlyFans too. Does that make it right? No. Are we clearly at the end of some horrible cycle where the earth hopefully implodes and renews itself soon? Yes. And it's not anybody's fault except for like the literal adult media producers, you know? And I went back and forth with one years ago. Shelley Lubin, I brought her up before. She was an activist. She was a former adult media star. She blew the whistle on how like they were having somebody who wasn't even an official doctor give these adult media stars. I hate even saying star for that. That would give them checkups and do pap smears on women, and this person wasn't even a doctor. And just the reality of like, yeah, there are STDs running rampant. Every single person you see do that on a screen, like for a living, that has done it a lot, they have herpes. Every single adult media star has herpes. And when they're on vacation for a week or two, you know, that's like slang for they have a herpes outbreak. There's so many AIDS outbreaks they're not going to tell us about. And it's like that once you learn the truth, like thank you, I got it from Amazon, my background. Once you like really learn the truth in these certain facts, I saw a lot of men on Shelly's YouTube. She has a YouTube page still up. She's not with us anymore, unfortunately. But there was a lot of men being like, wow, I didn't know these facts. And now it's like helping me to be more aware of what I'm indulging in and engaging with. And frankly, I think a lot of it is satanic. I'm not going to say 100%, but I think it is the worship of evil, the bad part of humanity that we are always battling with, the good versus evil to some extent. I think it is like the bad, darkest part. It's like exploiting people's sexual energy. And I'm not saying that the men watching it, I'm saying the men making it. They knew these women are being treated like so horribly. Most women don't make any money. The OnlyFans, I've seen so many feminist type women promote OnlyFans as a way to make money. And most women make like $20 a month that sign up for it. No woman on this earth thinks that the $20 to $100 is enough money to bear her naked body unless she is very mentally flawed. And it kills me. I think it is part of what they're trying to do. They're trying to put that out there and make it look like a good thing, and it's not. That's disgusting. Thank God I'm in a monogamous relationship, Cody said. Hey, William, I was thinking about you when I started this live because I remember in my last live, you brought up how adult media was like the downfall of everything. And that's what I meant basically by hippies. You know, like these hippies brought with them this do whatever makes you feel good mentality. And look, a few decades later, people are suffering mentally more than before, in my opinion, in certain ways. Yippity. Why always talking about the women? What about the men who are consuming their content in the millions? Well, yippity, yes, I do. Yippity, one reason I don't is because it's like there's such an onslaught, and I know it's necessary, of trolls. I do bring up men, and that's what I'm saying. They need to educate themselves if they still indulge in adult media because they are part of the problem. But you can't point the finger at them and blame them, or else they're not going to listen to anything you say. And I just still think that I'm pointing the finger and blaming all men, even when I'm not. um, Nero, hippies are cool in certain aspects, maybe, but I think the sexual revolution that started then, that's what I wanted to put in the title, but I didn't want to put sexual in my title, you know? I believe OnlyFans should be banned, Yippity said. I agree. I think that it's legal prostitution. So if it's done on a camera and there's a guy behind the camera, there's a producer making money, that's the PIMP, then it's okay, right? Because it's prostitution. You're having sex for money. There's a guy making sure he gets his cut. How is that not like glorified prostitution? Same thing with sugar babe. That's why I'm trying to be honest about my past. You're not a sugar babe. You're a prostitute. Okay. Oh no, my dog's barking at somebody. Cody also thinks OnlyFans should be banned. I hope there's nobody at the door. You know what? I'm going to be right back, guys, okay? I'm so sorry. I still have my microphone in my ear, but there is some work being done on the road, and I want to make sure nobody's at our door. You're a good boy. That's a good boy letting me know. Okay, I'm so sorry. There's nothing going on. Like some big machinery going up and down our street a lot. So I was like, oh gosh, what if they like needed me to move something or something? It's horrible, but it's a genie that will never be put back into the bottle, William said. Oh, you're right. You're right, William. Until the world implodes and renews itself, we all hopefully come back, you know, our souls will come back and be able to enjoy it. I believe in reincarnation myself. A lot of near-death experiences. Hey, Brian, how are you doing today? I'm glad I get to say hi to some of the regulars before I get off of here. It's basically talking about like the sexual revolution as a cause of a lot of what's going on today as far as, you know, the gripes between men and women. And I'm not ever trying to make excuses for anybody, but I can't stress this enough. This is how I look at it. We were all born innocent babies. Like at one point in time, whoever is pissing you off about whatever, they weren't like that. They had to have that instilled into them. The most mean, racist, horrible people. My grandpa worked with juvenile delinquents, and he made it clear, like, they all have a story. If a kid's out there acting out, breaking the law, they have backgrounds. You took the time to listen. Same thing with 600-pound life, right? Like, nobody eats themselves to death without going through trauma. And it's like it's really important to like be able to like look at people and like give them a little bit of their innocence back, you know, because like it's not fair that so much of it was taken from us. And I don't want to get too personal, but like at the same time I feel like it might be important. Like I think a lot of us have been through things as children, and I try to justify it as like, well, you know, this didn't happen to me. There was no penetration, so it wasn't really bad. It wasn't real molestation. But like so many of us have been through things that I don't even think we realized how they affected our brains and the rest of our lives. And it's kind of hard to face that, unless you're forced to for whatever reason, or you sincerely want to. Hi, Sandy. How are you doing? I'm glad you're having a fantastic day, Brian. I hope this live isn't going to bring it down. I just felt compelled to like hop on here and talk about this today. And then, of course, I saw right before I hopped on that there was a pregnancy announcement from Titus and Stephanie. So I thought maybe I'd talk about that for like a minute because I don't know. I don't know how many of you care about that. But part of what I think is the downfall of this world and what has happened when you exploit sexuality, women's bodies in particular, men's bodies too, and like the objectification of men is why there's so many women. I mean, 6 foot or taller, or even women. He has to be 6'2" or taller. What the heck? How many men in this world are 6'2" or taller? That objectification of men and their height, yes, that is stemming, in my opinion, from women being so overly objectified. Like, it's imagine walking around, literally everybody looking at you has like I had so many people tell me to get a nose job, and it was because they looked at me, they thought I was pretty besides my big nose, and they wanted to let me know, you'd be even prettier. Like, they think it's a compliment. You'd be prettier if you got a nose job. Like, imagine walking around like that. I'm sorry, like that doesn't happen to men. You can have like a ethnic looking nose as a man, and like every other person you talk to don't tell you to get a nose job. And it's like this. Okay, so it's also bastardizing celebration of new life. When you take sex and turn it into like do whatever makes you feel good, or just go get a small abortion if you get pregnant on accident. And like the way people treat pregnant women, I've been pregnant 3 times. I can attest to this. We don't treat pregnant women fairly. We don't worship the ground they walk on like we should be. I'm sorry, we don't. And I feel like adult media and the objectification of bodies is a big reason why. And trust me, I know before that, there was like people wouldn't allow a pregnant belly on TV, like that wasn't what I want to get back to too either. Like being so prude that like sex and pregnancy isn't even shown in any way, shape, or form at all. The results of sex and being pregnant. Shoegazing said, my ex from the Twin Cities came off as condescending with her spiritual mysticism, but she was very vague, yet had a decent background that showed moral traits, but wasn't honest about city life. Oh, that sounds unfortunately. It sounds like maybe she's got a good background, but she's going through something right now. It makes me really hurt for women, especially after going through what I went through with high risk HPV. It's being promiscuous is never worth it. William, if men are expending all the energy on prawn, it's no wonder they don't have time to chase tail. That's true. That's part of why they're out of the workforce too, in my opinion. Hear me out. No, it's not that men go to work to get laid, but it's like if you don't have the motivation to better your life, to make money, to set goals and reach them, you're going to be depressed. Like we were put here to work, and with the exception of like, of course, there's differently abled people. Like I know, and we're put here to work for them and help them. 5'9" is the average height of men, Cody said. Yes. And especially now, like there's so many Hispanic people coming. Like my husband's 5'7". I've never felt like he was short. It's about how you carry yourself as a man, right? Like my husband's enough man for me. Okay, it has nothing to do with their height. And when you meet face to face and you have a connection, like I've always been kind of the opposite. I don't want to go like this. I don't want to like every time I hug somebody and kiss them, like hurt my neck. I'm sorry. Then I feel bad for like the tall people out there, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's just so odd to me that there's a lot of women with a prerequisite of 6 foot or taller. That's bizarre. And I know they had that song like when we were younger at the skating rink, like don't want no short man. Like yeah, they made fun of short men a teeny tiny bit, but no, there was no. There would have never been. You have to be 6 foot or taller. That would have never happened 20, 25 years ago. No. Um, oh, am I freezing for anyone? Jesus Christ died for many, but living in sin is separating many from the Father. Seek the Lord in all ways and turn from sinful habits before ultimately it's too late, Brian said. Yes. I believe a belief in God is important. Sterling, the patriarchy needs to stop women down. Are you saying stomp women down, Sterling? I don't know if you're joking or not, but the patriarchy has done a well enough job of oppressing women. Hi, Kiara. How are you? It's good on Mr. Carey's end. That's exactly what I was trying to say about many thing. I didn't have a motivation, was depressed. I didn't get to go a spoiler, but she was using sh use she was using legal stimulants. Oh, I honestly, I take kratom every day myself. I know it's not a good thing, and I shouldn't be taking it every day. It's just this world is so hard. We are all trying to survive. Yoder! Well, even TV movie SEX is really portrayed as real life SEX. Yes, the noises everything puts an expectation in one's minds and then find us really ever like that in real life. Yoder, how are you doing? It broke my heart. I saw you say a comment to Mr. Carey about being in a lot of pain. I hope you're feeling better right now. I'm so sorry. William, we can tell you got a good husband. I'm jealous. Well, like, I saw this woman's video that was kind of like making the rounds where she's like, I'm in a great marriage. I love my husband. We both have great jobs. You can tell by her house, like, they've got a nice life. And like, she married when she was 22. Like, she loves her husband so much. He's great, but she wouldn't recommend marriage and kids for anybody. And it like kind of took me aback. I'm like these messages being spread are only going to like, we're not going to have anybody to wipe our butts when we're old in the old people's homes, God willing, at this rate. Like like I'm like such a centrist. I get it. I wouldn't want to bring a baby into this world right now either, personally. But at the same time, like we need people who are willing to. We need to celebrate new life. We need to be happy about every pregnancy, every new soul on this earth, right? Like if people truly celebrated with women when they said like across the board, everything would be so different. Everything would be radically different if we didn't treat children, babies, the mothers of children and babies like they were problems, something to be like kept away. And like 100 years from now, we'll turn around and look at 2025. They thought they were so advanced, but they were like, they treated children like they were a problem, like they're not human beings, like they don't deserve to be a part of society. That's a very big problem. So Yoder is still miserable. Everybody think good thoughts. Yoder family farm life. She is going through recovery from surgery. Let's pray for her. I really hope you feel better soon. I know how hard it is the first few days, Anna. Well, you went through more than me. William, I already read that. That song was about a man's package. Mr. Carey. Oh, the short. Really, Mr. Carey? Oh no. Oh no. You're just like, now I want to listen to it and I don't because I think it'll like ruin a part of my childhood. Patriarchy is the only reason we have society. Well, user cool. There's a bunch of other ways I believe society could function. Like with matriarchies center children. And in my opinion, that's what I was just talking about. That would be the ideal society. When a child's education, child's safety is the most important thing to society, not men getting their rocks off, not men making billions of dollars, not men having as much power and control as they can over other men. Cody, kratom is very addictive. Be very careful. I had awful withdrawal from that stuff. Wow, that was rough. I already had to stop taking it because I had a surgery in April, and it was very rough, Cody. And then once again, I work in a factory, 10 hours on my feet. I know that's not like a great excuse, but that's my reason. And they tell you it's not addictive, but like I would like to say that anytime I bring it up, kratom is addictive. Don't believe anybody that says it's not. You might take a gram a day. You don't take that gram the next day, you're going to be sick. And that's one thing that freaked me out, Cody. And when I was like, I'm not going to start taking it after my surgery, but I did. I have two hernias, a possible third hernia, so I have a lot of hernia pain. My girlfriend from the Twin Cities just is a hippie, and we both met going for a nature degree. Oh, that's so neat. So I always wondered how she got the experience with her diverse background, but she did come off as privileged. Well, shoegazing, I would guess the internet, the influence of social media and the internet. Take any good person and shoegazing. I always acknowledged my ex because I wanted to get to know her. Grew up abandoned and outcast and shut up. She didn't understand what that was like, but was supportive. Gasser. I'm so sorry to hear that, shoegazing. I hope you have people that are more supportive in your life now. And I don't know what your plans are, like if you have pets, if you plan on having kids or whatever, but like um the older I got, like reparenting yourself, like you've been through stuff like that. You need to reparent yourself, I would recommend if you haven't heard of that. And my ex was very biased when it came to illegal stimulant use, and I was exhausted from working at where I told her I had to stay sober and vigilant, but she did not understand. Shoegazing when you're living together, I'm sorry to hear all of that. No money wells. Money wells, I would never be on OnlyFans. I don't believe in that. I think sex work is not work. It's the most unsustainable, dangerous, stupid work a woman could do. And but I don't look down on the women that do it. Dean, women are difficult to communicate with. Well, Dean, I understand. I'm sure a lot of women are. There's so many reasons why people are like, I feel like they're stuck in their own little world. And until we can come together and have more things in common, like it's important to do activities, hobbies with people that are as passionate about the same things as you. It's like so hard to genuinely connect with people anymore. Lucky the lyric says you have to use tweezers for that little thing, and oh, an extra belly button, yet about the length of a man's pack. Oh, I never knew the tweezers for that little thing. Okay. I don't okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Carey. I don't like that at all, and I don't agree with that. I don't like for the same reason I don't think women's bodies should be objectified. I don't agree with that at all. I'm sorry to bring that song up. Sky Gamer, hey, my girlfriend don't want me anymore. She wants to move on, but I don't want to go. I love her and sad all day. Any advice? I'm so sorry, Sky Gamer. As much as it hurts now, like if you guys are meant to separate, then it's for the best. And if you're meant to be together, you'll be together. As cheesy as that is, you have to let go what you love. And if it comes back to you, it was meant to be. And I know that, especially if you're young, like it can really hurt. There's no proof if she used illegal stimulant, but it sucks when you lose somebody you can do passive and physical activities with that you never had anyone you shared so much in common with. Shoegazing. Yes, I completely understand. I dated somebody in high school for a few years. You know, when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, 2.5 years is like a long time, right? And our lives were so intermingled, and he cheated on me and broke up with me, and that was like so devastating. And I look back on that, like that's why I encourage my kids not to date, not to get too close to somebody like that at 15 years old. The actual Short Man is a clean version. The original song is short. Oh, okay, Mr. Carey, I've heard enough. I had no idea, and I can't believe I had no idea this whole time. Shoegazing, yeah, when me and my ex broke up in college my last year, she deliberately showed up to drop off her stuff where I was in a conversation. So she, um, I'm sorry, you were in a conversation with her. She just dropped off your, like, I get it, guy. And I'm sorry, shoegazing, you're a guy, I take it. And Sky Gamer, are you a guy? See, there's a lot of women that are out there that are under the impression because of the way we are treated and overly objectified. It's not your fault. It's like I still have those moments where I'm like, oh, a man, emotions coming from a man. And like, I have to check myself. Yeah, they're humans. Men feel things too, but it's because of the way they're socialized and told not to cry. And like, you know, if you do this, it's like a girl, because the worst thing you could ever be as a man is like a girl, right? And like that's part of the like such a huge problem. And it affects us all because then we're raising our sons to not emote. And then whenever we are, you know, married to them later, we're like, why aren't you more emotional? Why don't you tell me more? Why can't you express yourself? And it you know, it like breaks my heart, but at the same time, it's like I know it's part of life. Like you have to go through heartbreaks, and whenever you recover and you find somebody, you will take all the lessons you learn from your heartbreaks, and it will be worth it. And you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I remember when I thought I couldn't go a day without that person, and now that's funny to me because thinking about that makes me laugh." And like it got to the point where like my sister would say that to me. She like, "Remember, like one day you're going to be laughing about the fact that you're like crying over this person." But Mr. Carey said, "Sorry, I ruined your childhood." Oh my gosh, no, it was always at the skating rink. You know what I mean? Like in the 90s, everybody had their birthday parties at the skating rink and everything, at least in the town we grew up in. And thinking about that, I don't care if it was a clean version of a dirty song, just the fact that they would play even like a clean version grosses me out, you know? Elsa asked, "Is this the end times?" I think we're at the end of a cycle, but it could be like 500 more years of this cycle, you know? I understand people are always saying it's almost time for the world to end, but I don't see how people couldn't think that it might be more true now. There's an 8.8 magnitude earthquake in Russia. Oh, excuse me. Hi, Mazine. How are you? Mazin. Well, guys, I think I've said what I wanted to say, and I really appreciate I'm from Kentucky. I really appreciate everybody that jumps in and expresses themselves. Like, you're totally allowed to express yourselves. Everybody was respectful, even if you disagree with me, like in a respectful way. I think this is how we move forward, you know? And somebody said, like, has anybody ever changed or not been racist because of an online discussion? I think not in my last live. And I'm like, I don't know how you could say that about like all the billions of discussions. But, anyways, I think that there is progress that takes place anytime any uncomfortable conversation is had. Anything that sheds light on somebody's perspective you didn't have before. Part of how they're doing the conquer and divide is to make us like think like what we believe is it and hate everybody else that doesn't think like us. And that's one thing I love so much about Kentucky, and especially like rural areas of Kentucky. Like people really are so much less judgmental than people think. People think there's just like a bunch of judgmental, backwards, racist hillbillies here, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. It really couldn't, in my experience. You're from India? That's so neat. I have a lot of people from India that hop in on my lives. I just found, anyway, one of my favorite shorts makers is this Indian woman and her daughter's cat. It is the Patari. No, that's not it. Piari is the cat's name. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. This woman is like dressing the cat up in beautiful dresses and she puts the bindi. Like, okay. So Mr. Carey, thank you for staying on here and really, really appreciate everybody. I want to have a members only live this Saturday and try to do them the first Saturday of the month. Anybody wants to give me an idea for a topic on any live? Like, I really appreciate your input, comments. If you thought of something or heard of something you never thought of or heard of today, anything, comments help. Of course, I guess you guys all know that. But anyways, I hope you all have a great night. That song is gonna be stuck in my head now too, Mr. Carey. I think I'm gonna go listen to some music right now while I finish getting ready for work and then effort to get that song out of my head. Just so everybody else has to suffer that's in here. We're talking about the Short Short Man song from the 90s. Messy the Puma. Oh yeah. I follow you mentioned them and I looked it up. That is cute. I follow Pantera, these people that have raised like a big black cat from when she was a baby and they have a Rottweiler. It is really cool. Um, re-listen to the lyrics now. Yeah, I guess I have to, because that's the way my brain is. Like I'm gonna be thinking about it and like until I listen to it. And that's another thing. The subliminal propaganda, the subliminal messages. We were indoctrinated with that do as thou wilt, do whatever makes you feel good. Um, you're hot and young, show it off. Like, of course, there's people that are not like, but overall, the messages that young women are given in society are bad and not conducive to good health. And then when you have a lifelong STD from it, the doctors treat you like the way they talk about HPV. I literally had a doctor tell me basically it's not an STD. Everybody gets it. Like it's so prevalent in our society that like don't even think about it like being sexually transmitted. It's not that big of a deal. No, those attitudes are why we're here. Those attitudes are why we might not have people to wipe our butts when we're old people, God willing, in the old people home. Mizan, I know English only a little, but I'm able to understand what you said about real person from India. Well, good for you. I don't know much of any other language, so I am in awe of anybody that can speak, um, you know, in any other language. I own tweezers only to pull infected hair. Oh yeah, I tweeze my face. Like I'm gonna make a video about that eventually. I have like a beard. I have so much facial hair, and I know I'm not the only woman that suffers from that. And once again, I have like no filter, and yeah. So if Anna's still here, I hope you feel better and better. Seriously, I'll be thinking about you a lot. I am getting ready to go overboard. I hope you are doing well, and I love you guys. Bye.